back around. We got our 5.7 here. We've been slowly piecing together. I've been stretching out the videos a little longer to give you guys a little longer content. But we've got some updates here, and I'll get you caught up on those. Accessory drive. I've got a harmonic balancer that came. I got this at the Chrysler Carlisle swap meet. I think I got this harmonic balancer, water pump. I got a pulley. I got all that, I think, for 200 bucks. So that's not bad, considering that this is a couple $100 by itself. And it looks brand new. It's just a little dusty. So we got that on, got that installed. Got this alternator from a local used parts dealer. $90 for that. That's going to save you a bunch of money because these are also expensive. Now these are different than the early truck style. I just recently had to buy the truck style for the 68 Dart, but it mounts up here this way, like with some through bolts, like an older alternator would have. This one uses some side bolts that mount this way. So we've got that on there. Still need one bolt to go here, and that's no problem. We'll get that sorted out. Another thing that I've acquired here recently, I've gotten these. Now these are your heater tubes, whereas the normal 318 or what, even the earlier 5.7 Hemis will come out of the water pump. These actually go under the intake manifold and come out up here. This is a factory hose, but this is what it looks like on both ends. I don't drive the Dart in the winter much, so I'll probably just tie these two together back here just to circulate the antifreeze and coolant. But these are pretty handy to have. It definitely cleans up your engine bay instead of having these big heater tubes stretched everywhere. So these are something I would recommend. I got these at a local pick and pull. They weren't very expensive, but they are pretty pricey if you get them through Chrysler deal. They're about 30 bucks a piece, and you got to buy the O-ring separate, and then got to buy the bolt separate if you don't have that. So we've got those in, and then we moved on to putting the valve covers on. Now I've taken the coil packs off just to show you some references. Now, the first thing you'll notice is they've got fancy fasteners here, and I'll show you the completed side over here. I got these from DIY Hemi online. He has a lot of Hemi swap equipment on his website. That's what he specializes in. I think his new rebrand is Sublime Technologies. And at the time I bought these, they were 40 bucks. And you may think, why did you buy those? Well, here is what the factory put on them. And they would have went in there like so, and they got a little rubber gasket or whatever. If you get these, if you want to check on a valve spring or something, if you have to take these valve covers off for any reason, or if they leak and you have to tighten them, these back here that are under, like in the firewall area, and these especially on this side where your brake system is, you cannot get to them, especially the ones down here, because the fender's coming out and you can't get a ratchet in there with a socket. So I got these that are recessed a little bit, where you can get a hex head socket in there and tighten them up a little bit. So I got these in there and torqued down. Of course, start in the middle, work your way out. There's a torque spec on them, but really I just kind of took a little ratchet and got them nice and tight. You don't want to over tighten them, of course. Got new gaskets. There's gaskets. When you order the valve cover gasket, there is a gasket that looks like a number 8, and it goes around this spark plug tube hole. And these gaskets are reusable, and then there's another one that goes around the edge. Like I say, both of them are reusable gaskets, but they do get hard over time. So I replace them. You've got it off of there. Just peel it off. They're relatively inexpensive for the overall project you're working on. So got those replaced. Got these torqued down with the new DIY Hemi fasteners. Got some accessory drives. Still need a tensioner pulley here. No big deal. We can just pick that up. I've just been picking up some things little by little. Still not sure what we're going to do with the intake. I'm not sure if the Edelbrock one can be ported to match these heads. Holley does make one. May look into getting the Holley one, the single plane intake. Not sure. But let's move on to the coil packs. Coil packs. They have 2 plugs per cylinder, basically. Let's say 2 plug boots per cylinder. And you can get creative with these, really. They don't necessarily have to go on the valve covers. I've seen guys make brackets, and you can remove these plug boots, put the plug boots in the holes, and then mount the coils elsewhere and run plug wires. That's a good idea. I mean, it'll look like an original Hemi that way. I don't have any fancy brackets or anything. The factory design works well for me, personally. Now, there are 2 different types of these coils, and I'll show you the difference. Okay, here are the 2 different styles of spark plug coils. Now, the difference is, you might notice that there's 1 plug boot on this one, and there's 2 plug boots on this one. Well, how these work, 1 plug boot goes in, and then this one jumpers over to another cylinder, or the same cylinder. They kind of look messy. I'm not going to lie. They function the same. They take a different set of valve covers that have different bolt mounting hardware. So you can't take this is for the 2008 and earlier 5.7 Hemis. They take a different valve cover that has a different mounting flange. But you can take the newer 09 and up valve covers and run these plugs on an older 5.7 Hemi, and it looks a lot cleaner. I chose to do that with that 68 Dart that I put together. And like I say, they function the same, but this definitely cleans up your engine bay a lot. So, moving on to the next point I want to make. When you install these coil packs, they're just going to snap in. Okay, it's just going to push down easy, and you'll tighten these 10mm bolts up. Be very careful. Don't take a little 12-volt ugga-dugga gun or a 2-foot ratchet and try to torque these down, because these are a brass insert inside of a plastic housing. I've been there on my other engine I put together. Don't try to work these in too hard. Make sure the coil pack is in there flush and tight, and then all you really need is a 10mm ratchet. And once they're tight, because they're already on the spark plugs at that point right there. But these are just basically keeping pressure on the spark plug. So that's tight. You can just feel and get tight. That's really all you need. There's a torque spec on them, but I tried to follow the torque spec. Yep, tight, nice and snug. That's all you really need. Trust me. You don't need to be trying to torque spec these down. They're not like a main cap or anything. Just enough to hold this coil pack in place and it's not coming loose. That's all you need. Going to install the rest of these, all you really do is just give them a little shove or a tap like that, and they're set to go. Then you just tighten these down, and then the completed side will look like this. And I can put a picture of the early 5.7 Hemi valve covers up and stuff. They work good. I mean, they do. They're cast aluminum instead of this plastic. Like I say, the only difference is they have the jumper wire that goes over the other. It's very funky and weird. I didn't like the looks of them on the early engine. You can put these valve covers on the early 5.7s and run these coils, no problem. Actually, these valve covers have room for higher lift, valve springs, and cam, if you want to go that route, because these did. So there's a good tip for you if you want to clean up your engine bay if you have an early 5.7, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is the 2004 5.7 Hemi out of my 68 Dart that we've got going on here, and here is the new valve covers on the older 5.7 Hemi. It definitely makes them look clean. You don't have a weird jumper wire. All you have are the coil wires going to the coils. Here's the difference in the alternator I was talking about. I just bought this one brand new. I had some electrical issues on this car for charging. And as you can see, it bolts through the face of this timing cover. So it definitely bolts different. Maybe I'll make a bracket or ask around, see if anybody's got a bracket. But I do have another alternator, which is no problem. But that is the difference in that. As you can see, dual quad carbs there. It runs good. The other one should run better though. This is the paint that I was talking about, the rattle can paint. It looks good when it first goes on, and I'll leave it at that. It fades pretty quickly. It looks kind of janky. Looks good, really, for what it is. But it's just not what we want in this for the time being. As you can see, I'll show you what I'm talking about on these valve cover bolts. When you get over in here and have to, let's say, take this one loose, or if you have to tighten this one back here, you don't have room to get a socket and a ratchet in there. But a hex head will definitely alleviate a lot of headache if you have a valve cover gasket leak. Plus, they look better. These, I took them off and spray painted them, put them in a cardboard box. You know, did all the tricks, but they still look terrible, let's be honest. And you know, with these new valve covers, new style valve covers I should say, you can neaten up your wiring, run fuel lines down here, whatever you need to do. As you can see, I've got my coil pack wiring going through here, and my temperature gauge in here, and it looks nice and clean. Don't have a whole bunch of stuff running everywhere. And here's where the coolant lines come out of on the early Hemis. And I've got it going back into the heater box. So we can alleviate that when we bring it under the intake manifold where there's room. And I'll have to worry about this great big hose out here in the middle of no man's land, taking up a bunch of good looking paint job, you know. Worked hard on that paint. Paint's expensive. You want to show it off. Get rid of these, put it under the intake. Now, another thing that I've gathered and to put together for a big video for you is this pickup tube right here. This is a Milodon pickup tube, and the only reason I went with a Milodon over a Holley is I already have a Milodon pan on that 68 Dart. If it wasn't for that, I would get the Holley pan. It's actually cheaper than doing the Milodon. But at the time that I put the Dart together, Milodon was the only one offering anything. So I had to get a different pickup tube because the oil pump on Eagle Hemis has a bigger input than the pre-Eagle Hemis, and I think I've spoken of that before. So you have to get the 09 and up pickup tube for the 09 and up engines. It will not work unless you put the other oil pump on. That's just a hassle. Don't do that. So you have to get this pickup tube, and you either have to move a bolt or buy a bolt to put here. I bought a brand new bolt and a nut and torqued it down. I got this bolt from Mancini. It was relatively inexpensive. I think it was $1 or $2 plus shipping. So that is something you need to be leery of when you go to putting these engines together. It has to have a mid-sump Hemi swap pickup tube, and I'll show you the difference in the Holley and the Milodon. This is the Holley pan. As you can see, it's cast aluminum. It's got a nice seal here. It came with new bolts, drain plug and everything, and it looks very nice. It is a very nice piece. It's got baffles inside. I don't have it off to show you, but it comes with baffles. It comes with a pickup tube, oil pan. It's got a built-in gasket, like a factory style gasket in here. I think the whole kit's $400 and some bucks, which isn't bad considering. I bought the Milodon oil pan for $300 and the pickup tube for $100. That's before we get gaskets, and it doesn't have any baffles. So keep that in mind. The Holley kit is much better. But again, there's a difference in what they call VVT and non-VVT. you're going to want to buy for an 09 and up engine the VVT oil pan kit, simply because that means it's got a bigger oil pump tube inlet. So keep that in mind. 09 and up VVT, 08 and down non-VVT. If you go Milodon, it sits in there very nice. It's got good ground clearance, but right here, it likes to, you know, mark territory. And it's because you have to use a factory gasket around the edge of that Milodon oil pan, and you have to gasket seal around it. It's not a bad leak. It's been sitting here for I don't know how long, month or so far. I haven't had time to take it out, but the Milodon has a stamped steel factory lip, like not a new factory, but like you would see on a 318 or 340. It's just a stamped steel oil pan. That doesn't seal well against the factory cast steel block. The Holley one has the rubberized gasket that meets the face, the machine face. So what I didn't do on this one was silicone both sides of the original gasket to make it seal. I just put the gasket on there and torqued it, and it leaks. So when we put this oil pan on the other engine, we'll be sure to do that. Y'all remind me. I'll forget. And then put this oil pan with that other pickup tube in here. Should work fine. This is the Milodon pan part number and the Milodon pickup tube for the 09 and up Hemis. This is the package it was in. I kept it to show you guys, and it says used with part number 40750 gasket set, and it has to have a tray, and that's all comes separate. But with the Holley, it all comes as one kit. It's a little better built kit. And I'll show you one difference that I do like about Milodon. When you Google the Holley one, it's going to show you the pickup tube, and it's going to have a round disc, and it's going to look like the factory pickup tubes where it just has a round disc and then it's got the filter. This actually has a 1/8 inch gap welded onto this pickup tube so that you have that clearance. I can see the Holley disc. It kind of looks like a donut, and if you're flat against that, it's just going to suck itself dry, whereas this has something to help you prevent that from happening. So this is better built, I think, as far as pickup tube wise, but the Holley offers a better pan, and I don't think you can interchange them. I think the depths are different. At least I wouldn't. If you're going all Holley, go all Holley. If you're going all Milodon, go all Milodon. Don't be mixing parts that aren't made to go with each other. Another thing I want to bring to y'all's attention, which will be probably the next little thing I'll do off camera, you have to remove this oil filter housing, plug thing, thread thing, whatever this is, this nipple, we'll call it. Can we get in trouble on YouTube for that? We'll find out. Remove this. I've used a pipe wrench before, but if you want to save it, it takes a ginormous mean green you know, Allen key set. Not everybody has that, but they got pipe wrenches. You're not going to reuse this anyway. So you take this off, and there's a plate you can get from Stank Motorsports that we got the VVT plug from, and you can put that right there, and it covers this, and you can run your remote oil filter through here, and I'll show you what that looks like. Once we get that far, I can put that in, and I've already got it hooked up on the 68, so we can put that in, and then we can have remote oil filter access, which is pretty nice because this doesn't clear the frame if you put an oil filter here. The A-body frame is going to be close. I may have to move this alternator. Holley does make a alternator relocation kit, and it moves the alternator up a little higher, because frame clearance is, you know, not our friend in an A-body. And here is this machine surface that I'm talking about. You can see where the factory gasket was on this. And the Holley oil pan sits on that a lot better than the Milodon. When you put these on, of course, you'll need to silicone here, silicone this joint, everywhere there's a joint, you'll silicone it. Of course, you guys probably know that, but never hurts to throw in a reminder. And then pop the oil pan on. So now we're caught up, got our coil plugs, coil packs all tightened down. Valve covers are tightened down with the DIY Hemi fasteners. They look good, they match the car. They're not orange, but you know, green will offset the color of the fenders a little bit. Heater tubes. You guys are all caught up to speed where we're at now. Sorry for the gap in videos, just trying to make sure I get enough parts to get a good long video for you instead of a bunch of little short ones. I want to give you guys the good content that you need. I know that you guys, you know, really ask in between videos where the next one is or what's next. But that's why I like to stretch them out. Make sure I give you guys some good content instead of just a bunch of little short things here and there. Sometimes I'll post a YouTube short with just some little things. I did one the other day about some Flowmaster flow effects I put on that 68 with the 5.7. Check that out. Have one on a D100 diesel I found in the pick and pull where I got some of these parts from. Pretty neat. Never knew they made such a thing. So, like, subscribe. I'll put a link to the Amazon store in here and link to anything else you may need. If you guys know of any information, feel free to share it in the comments with each other. It's what this is about. This is a budget, and that's what I'm on. So a budget. So I'm just kind of gathering stuff here and there, little by little. But pick and pulls are your friend. Chrysler Carlisle and Mopar Nationals, stuff like that, don't have a whole lot. Gonna be honest. You can pick up, you know, expensive 440s and 340s out until your face turns blue, but as far as Gen 3 Hemi stuff, the market's not there yet. Luckily I found the guy that had this harmonic balancer water pump, this snout here with the pulleys on it. Got some pulleys off of them. I should have got that tensioner. He had one and I didn't. Pick and pulls, used parts around your local area, they'll sell these used parts. If you go to pick and pull, look for Chrysler 300s. The 300C are Hemi powered, which is what this came from, 300C limo. So look for those. Look for Durangos, Ram trucks, cars. Now the cars and trucks have different timing covers, of course. We've mentioned that before. But stuff that is easy to get to, you know, I got a bunch of coil packs and heater tubes. I forget what else I got. It was like 40 bucks for all that at the pick and pull. So don't be afraid to dive in, get your hands dirty, get in there, get something working. This thing was a junk $200 long block when we bought it. Came in on a pallet. Go back, check out the first video, and look at it now. It's a beauty queen, if nothing else, you know. Put a little makeup on her. After a couple drinks, it's worth starting up, you know. So, anyway, like, subscribe, share it. Give some input. Where do you get your guys' parts from? Pick and pulls, AutoZone? Let me know. Have a good one, guys. See you on the next one.